This next example is very similar to our first example, but you'll notice in this case, I don't have a surface, and that just means I'm going to have to use a slightly different force. Now, these guys are all standing around their fish. They're obviously proud, and they've hung it from a rope to hold it. So again, there is my fish. I just have to draw the dot. That's its body. Artistic people need not apply to physics that they can, but they don't have to be artistic. Thank goodness for that for me. So if we look at this, I still have a force of gravity. That first force is the same. It's still the force of gravity pulling down. But in this case, there is a different force holding it up. It's not a normal force because a normal force is the force of a surface holding something up. And this is not on a surface. This you could use a couple things. You can either use T, where T is the tension. That's fine. Tension is fine. Tension is when it's anything like a wire or a rope or anything like that that has tension. You could also have just called it very simply the force of the rope. There's nothing cheating about that. You do need to label all of your forces in your free body diagram though, and you'll notice the arrows always come out of the dot, don't go in. Okay, we'll try another example. So this third example is a constant velocity. I underlined it because it's so important. In this case, it's a gentleman pulling his broken golf cart. So there's his broken golf cart right there. That's its body. And there's two things I can put on right away. I can put on my force of gravity pulling down because I know it's happening. And I can put on my normal force. They're both going to be equal to each other. They're going to be balanced because they are. This is the part that most people don't realize. When you have a constant velocity, you're pulling. He's pulling on this cart. He's pulling forwards, right? That's supposed to be a nice straight arrow. Sorry about my wiggliness. And I'm going to call that FA. FA is for the applied force. The applied force, the force being applied by anything. It could be a person, it could be a machine's motor, whatever it is that's applying it and causing it to move. And it's being counteracted. It's being counteracted by something we've all heard of before. That is the friction force. The friction force is pulling in the opposite direction with the same amount of force. I've tried to make my arrows look the same length. Sorry about the wiggliness. It's hard to do with a pen nice and straight. But there is my friction force. So my friction force is my second force. Now, because they're balanced, they're the same amount. That's why you get a constant direction, or constant velocity, sorry. And that's because they have the same amount. If I pulled with too little applied force, I wouldn't overcome friction and it wouldn't move. If I pulled with more applied force than friction, it would accelerate and it wouldn't be a constant velocity. The constant velocity is telling me that everything is balanced, that they're all paired off.